correctional officer convicted of assault. While 5 investigates, Brittany Johnson continues her coverage of violent interventions inside a Massachusetts prison's psychiatric hospital.
Please be aware that some of the content in this report you're about to see is very disturbing.
Hey y'all, Chattel Red, the grown-ass teenager here. And today the video that we're watching is going to deal with mental health and use of force, I believe, because it looks like that they're going to have a use of force with a mental health patient. So let's watch the video and then we're going to get into it.
This is inmate Carrie Trapasso in a holding cell inside the psychiatric wing of a federal prison hospital in Devens, Massachusetts.
Water, I need real water.
He has been pepper sprayed after threatening a nurse, and senior correction officer Seth Bourget is reporting. Trapasso was in prison for production of child pornography and coercing or enticing a minor. He is also, as a prison psychologist testified, perhaps the most mentally ill individual I've ever worked with, eating feces and drinking urine. As a child, Trapasso was very physically abused, including a traumatic brain injury from someone swinging his head against a brick wall. At this moment, a team is assembling to force him to comply. 2 things are important here. One is that senior officer Seth Bourget has a plexiglass shield to block Trapasso's spit. The other is that the camera that Bourget was holding has been put down here, forgotten, but still on.
Before we watch this use of force, let me first say correction officers are not psychs. We're not psychs. When you're in academy, you get training for like a week on mental health. Then once you go to the jail, they only give you training once a year. And it's not even like a whole day of mental health. It is 4 other things. So you learn in mental health for probably about 2 hours. Then they make you sign that you came to the training. That way, if you have a problem with a mental health patient, you are held liable, not the department. Because they're going to use that little 2-hour training to say that you are fit to deal with mental health patients. They should be with orderlies or with psych people that knows how to deal with mental health. To the psychs, they're patients. To us, they're inmates. And we're going to treat them as such. You definitely have to be, for real, mentally ill to eat feces and drink urine. There's not that much faking in the world. I mean, I couldn't do it. You know, there's some people that will do it because say they facing life and they trying to get out of life. They trying to use to say that they need to go to a psych hospital because they're mentally ill. So they will go as far as to eat feces and drink urine. Some people. Yeah, some people ain't going that far. They're going to try their luck and push it as far as they can go, but they ain't going to go that far. Some people also play mentally ill to not go to the box. We call them bing beaters. Yeah, the box is the bing. When they're mentally ill, you can't put them in a box in a little room like that by themselves all day because they have to be watched. So if they in a cell by themselves, they could be in there doing what he doing, banging his head or hanging up. And why was he sitting so close to that man that man spit on him? You know it caught him because you seen it in the camera. It was like 3D. And then he said, oh, he is a hostile mental health patient. Back up away from him. What they're assembling out there before they crack the pin is an extraction team. They have the shield guy, the cuff guy, the 2-arm, and the 2-leg guys. You have to extract him out the cell if he's refusing to come out or if he's being hostile. We can't let inmates hurt anyone else or hurt themselves. This is why the use of force is occurring. Because if he keeps banging his head like that, he could get a concussion, start bleeding, and they're going to blame that on you, the officer. Yeah, it's going to be your fault. So you have to stop him. Because some people would say, let him knock himself out. Then, yeah, he in there acting crazy, threatening people. We sprayed him. He's still hostile. Let him knock himself out in there. But they would be in trouble for that. Facts. The shield is not to stop his spit. That's not what it's made for. I mean, yes, it helps with that. However, it's made to bum rush him and knock him down.
Stop resisting!
In the investigation that followed, here's what was submitted. The forgotten camera captured a clear view of Bourget slamming the shield up and into Trapasso's chin as he stood handcuffed in the cell. Video from that forgotten camera was deleted. Forensics experts recovered it. Trapasso needed 12 staples to the back of his head and 6 stitches to his lip. With the help of the deleted video, Bourget was convicted in December for the shield strike and sentenced to a year and a day in prison.
You put them in this line like a train going at 100% speed with a shield, and to expect that there's not going to be an injury when you have cement walls and cement floors is ludicrous.
Bourget's defense attorney says he never intended to injure anyone and also never received training on using a shield during a forced cell entry.
And I said this in my opening statement, that it should be the government, the Bureau of Prisons, sitting in that chair, not my client. And the reason being is the lack of training with respect to mental health inmates.
We see in the Bureau of Prisons, in their response to mental illness, people with mental illness, is that it's oftentimes treated as a disciplinary problem.
We showed the encounter to federal public defender Jane Pysches.
You can just really see the disconnect between the incarcerated person's state of mind contrasted with the prison's response, which is just brutal.
The Bureau of Prisons declined our request for an on-camera interview, but the chief psychologist did tell us that when dealing with mental health inmates in crisis, de-escalation is always the first line of defense. Devon's psychologist tells us that correctional mental health is complicated, but it ultimately boils down to people working with people. We want people to be safe, to live their best lives, even if they have to live in prison. And use of force is always the last resort, but sometimes necessary. The difficulty of keeping staff and inmates safe and treating serious mental illness is a challenge seen in these other use of force videos. This inmate in the mental health wing is refusing orders to move to a new cell. In this other incident, officers need to move an inmate who had been placed on suicide watch. The milk cartons you see on the floor are full of the inmates' urine and feces.
I know prison is supposed to be to punish people. Sometimes, honestly, they come out of prison worse mentally than they went in.
Wow.
Yes, the ACLU's National Prison Project has sued the U.S. Bureau of Prisons to obtain records about their handling of mentally ill inmates across the country. And this also includes records from Devon's.
So, Brittany, let's talk about that correction officer. He is now in prison as an inmate.
That's exactly right. He actually, Seth Bourget, he reported to federal prison just a couple of weeks ago, and he is actually appealing his conviction.
So what about the other officers involved?
The other officers who you saw go into the cell with Seth Bourget, none of them were charged.
None.
First of all, what was that they threw in that cell? A hand grenade? Yo, I'm being an asshole, but I mean, I've never seen that. We didn't have that on Rikers Island. I seen other stuff flying in the air, so like it actually broke some stuff up. So it's something close to a hand grenade. But it didn't do nothing to him, and he was standing right next to it. But I see they sprayed him up, and they went in. Yeah, he was refusing to come out the pen. Yeah, that's how it goes. That running in the pen with feces and urine in the milk containers, they're supposed to have on smocks. That's crazy, running in there with your plain uniform on? Ew. No. In NYC, DOC, they put on the whole suit when they go in there to get that man. I've never ran into a cell with feces and urine Thank God I was working with the men. They always found men to do stuff like that. Now, probably if I was working with the women, I might have had to do that. Ew. In all use of force, not only mental health, all uses of force, de-escalation is first. You got to try to talk them down. In New York, DOC, they be talking to them for hours sometimes. It'd be like, oh my God, are we never going home? How long are we going to talk to this guy? It's time to go in there and get him now at this point. Now, prison, psych wards, maybe those are something different. Well, you know, it also depends on the supervisor, because some supervisors don't want to have no uses of force. They'll sit there and talk to dudes for 3 hours. Very annoying. In my later part of the career, I worked in the courts. And sometimes we had inmates that didn't want to go back to Rikers Island, or they want to stay at the courts and talk to their man. Nah, I ain't ready yet and all that. What you mean you ain't ready yet? This ain't on your time. This ain't Uber service. So I like captains that be like, let me give you your options. You're going to get on the bus and go back to Rikers Island, or you're going to get in an ambulance and be a hospital run. The choice is yours. Let's go. Yeah, I was never a supervisor, but that's the type of supervisor that I would be, and that's the type of supervisors that I like. We're not going to be in here talking to you all day, bruh. You're in jail, not at the Holiday Inn. That could have very well been an accident, because when you're in a situation like that, your adrenaline is pumping, your heart is pumping, you don't know how this thing about to go, like, and you're thinking about a lot of stuff too. After watching it again and again, it definitely looked intentional. And he was cuffed. So being that he's already cuffed, that shield thing was to stop him from spitting on him. And why did they have to go in there like that if he was already cuffed? This is how people get in trouble. Luckily, those other officers didn't get written up too. The thing about this job is someone else can get you hurt. You can be in trouble for someone else's actions and not your own. About the video thing, of course, if they have 2 videos showing the incident and one angle is better for them, of course, that's the video they're going to use. So this probably was investigated, and then that's why they had to look at the other cameras and saw another camera sitting on that, whatever it's sitting on. And they said, hey, where's the footage to that camera? And he's now fired and in jail from a use of force. This is how quick everything can change for you. That's why I don't understand how people stay on that job for more than 20 years. Get out of there. What are you still there for? Get your pension and go. Anything can happen, and next thing you know, boom, from a use of force. But that's all I got to say about that, y'all. Until next time, later.